Hi guys, I've got this gorgeous little photo of my nephew Jack to add into his Life Crafted album today, and what I want to do is create a full page, so a double spread mini layout to go in here. So the first thing I need to do is measure the size of my page protector so that I can make sure I'm cutting my pages the right size. So I've got 5 inches by 8 1/4. So I'm going to end up with a layout that is 10 inches wide and 8 1/4 high. Now, as well as using the gorgeous new Excursion Life Crafted kit this month, I also want to use some of the amazing digital goodies. So I'm going to take you over the computer and show you how I do that. Now, when I saw the subscriber exclusive journaling cards this month, I knew that I wanted to use this one to create a full page layout in my Life Crafted album. But this is just a 3x4 card, so first I need to resize it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, obviously I've opened the PNG file in Photoshop, and I'm going to go to my layers palette and just double click this layer so it is separate from the background. And then I can go image, canvas size. Now the size that I need the full page to be is 5 by 8 1/4. So that is the full size of my canvas, and I'm just going to drag this to the bottom and then go edit, transform, scale. And while holding down the shift key, I want it to stay in proportion. I'm just going to drag that up until it is the width, the 5 inches wide, and then hit return. And then obviously there's a little blank spot at the top here that won't show, but to make it look how it's going to look, I'm just going to go a flatten image, and that is now the full size of one side of my Life Crafted page. The other side's just going to be white as well, so I can go ahead and print this, and then I will have the 2 sides for my album. Now, when I saw that journaling card, I knew that one of the cut files this month would be absolutely perfect for that as well. So I've gone into Silhouette Studio and I've just dragged out a couple of rectangles here just so that I can get the sizing right for this cut file. So this is the 5 by 8 1/4 sides. There's 2 sides here for my layout, and I've also just drawn a 3-inch square to represent my photo. So the first thing I want to do is grab my cut file, and I'm just going to open that up. I'm just going to open up the PNG file, and it opens up quite small, so I'm going to hold down shift and resize that so I can see what I'm doing. And then grab my trace tool and select trace area, and I'm going to drag that over this rainbow. Just this one side is all I want. And then click trace. And then I can go ahead and delete the PNG file, and I'm just left with my cut file, which I can copy and paste back into my original document. So I want to spin this one round so that the clouds are horizontal. And I also want it to flip so that the higher side of the cloud is on the other side. So I'm just right clicking that and go flip horizontal. And then this is roughly how I'm going to have my cut file, and I just want to resize that so that it fits. The other thing I can do is grab the bonus card that I resized, and I'll just drag that in here so that I can place it roughly where it's going to go. And again, I'll just resize that. So basically I'm creating a mock-up of my layout off to the side of my cutting mat so that I can see how everything's going to look and make sure that everything is the right size so that I only have to do this once. So I'm going to right click again and send that to the back so I can see my cut file, and I can see here that this is going to fit really nicely in place. And I'm just going to move that. So that's going to fit really nicely there. I'm going to have to split this little side here, but that's just how the cut file is. So that's what I'll do. And my photo is going to sit here just slightly on top of some of those rainbow pieces. So I like the sizing of that. Maybe I will make it just teeny bit larger. I want this top cloud here to stay on the one side of the sheet, but I'll be able to move that around. So I think that's going to look good. So then I can transfer the cut file, because this is the only part that I'm actually going to need to cut, and I can just maneuver that so that it fits onto my page. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this from white cardstock. So now that I've cut the outline from white cardstock, I'm going to use the Silhouette software to create the filler pieces for my cut file as well, because I really don't enjoy fussy cutting. So I'm going to cheat and do it the easy way for me. I'm going to just select this, right click and duplicate it so that I've got a copy of the exact size that I used to cut my outline. Just in case something goes wrong, I can always go back to that to make sure I've kept an original, so I don't have to resize and recut everything. And then I'm going to select this one again, right click that and release compound path, which gives me all the little inside pieces. And when I delete this outside bit, I'm left with all the filler pieces. So the clouds, I'm going to cut all from one color of cardstock. And all these little individual rainbow pieces are going to get cut separately. So I'm just going to spread everything out so that I can offset this. Now the thing is that if you cut it just how it is right now, everything will be, it will fit snugly inside the outline that you've already cut. So what I want to do is offset it all a little bit so it's just slightly larger so that I can piece it in there behind. So all I'm going to do is select them. In fact, I'm just going to do all of them in one go. I've selected all of these little pieces and I'm using my offset tool, which is this little star one here. Click offset and it builds in a new cut file around the pieces that you've already got. This one here is a little bit too large, so I'm going to adjust the distance until it's small enough to fit in the little cut file lines here that we've already got. And then once that's small enough to fit, you just go ahead and click apply. And that gives you your whole new set of cut files. I'm just going to group those together so I can delete all these other ones because we don't need those anymore. And applying the offset to these clouds has left us with these funny little interior pieces as well. So I'm just going to ungroup all of those and then right click the cloud and release compound path, which means I can hold down shift and click the outside and then delete all these little interior pieces so they won't cut. And then it's just a matter of cutting each piece of the rainbow and the clouds from a different coloured pattern paper, and then I can go ahead and start putting my cut file together. So now I've got all my digital bits done, I can get on with actually creating this layout. So I printed my digital card here and I've just trimmed out the exact same size blank card as well. And then I'm just using the page protector to give me a guide for where to punch the holes. And I do like to do that before I do the rest of the page because it can help to guide where you put things, but also it means that I'll have an easy way to punch through anything that does happen to go on top of it after I'm finished. So the first thing I'm going to do here is fill in my cut file, which is reasonably easy since I've already cut out all the little pieces to go in the back of it. I'm just starting with the clouds and I've just flipped my cut file over and then I can run my glue pen around the edges and then stick the little pieces in. Now these rainbow bits were slightly more complicated because they are so thin, they sort of move and pull apart when you take them off the mat. So you do need to kind of finagle the inside pieces and the outlines to fit each other. I decided the easiest way to do it would be to do every second one and then I can go back and fill in those gaps. It just means that everything's a little bit more in place and will make sure that the cut file stays in the relatively correct shape. But I'm definitely not going to make you watch all of that because it was a little bit on the dull side, even for me. Filling in cut files is definitely not my favorite thing to do. But once it's done, it is so pretty and exactly how I wanted it to be. So I've moved my two sides together to create the one layout, and this is what I mean about having those holes pre-punched so I can see where they're going to go when I put my cut file down on top of it. It did help guide me for where best to put this cut file. So because this is not going into a pocket, I am making sure to apply a ton of adhesive to make sure none of this cut file goes anywhere. And then I'm just going to stick it down, making sure both sides of those pages are together. I'm going to just use my scissors just to trim through the couple of pieces of cut file that go across both pages. And then I can use my hole punch again to punch through from the back and make sure that all of the holes are through. Now the rest of my layout is going to come together really easily since I've already done most of the hard work with the digitals. I've just pulled out my Life Crafted kit and I'm going to go through all the bits and pieces in here and just add a few finishing touches to my page. I decided that my photo is going to go on the top left, and that's sort of roughly where it's going to be up there, so I can just start placing things on the page and see how they work. I want to tie in some of the colors from the digital page. The rainbow is a little bit lighter, more pastel-y, and the colors from the digital card were slightly more saturated. So I want to add a few more of those jewel tones to a little cluster around my photo at the top. So I picked out a blue label from the cut apart sheet and also one of the puffy stickers that says love this, and I ended up sticking it onto the acetate piece, the backing from the stamp set, just so I can move it around and make sure it's going to go in the right place. Now I'm going through the many pieces in the die cut set, just pulling out any that I think might work or that the colors tone in with the page, some pinks and some oranges, and I did pull out one navy blue piece, but it's a slightly different blue to the rest of the page, so I decided not to use that. And same with the pink piece here, so I'm going to end up just creating a little cluster from this teal tab and the little yellow and orange circle. I am going to end up hiding the word epic, just using the circle piece as a layer. I'm just gluing those directly behind my photo, and again making sure I'm adding a lot of adhesive because this is going to be just directly in my album. I don't want anything to accidentally fall off. I had thought that I was going to stick that blue label over top of my photo, but now that I've stuck my photo down, I've decided it would look better underneath it. So I'm going to have to do a little maneuvering to make it look like that. And I'm also going to shift where I had intended to have this orange little puffy sticker. I've moved it to the top right of my photo, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment onto my label before I trim that in half and butt it up against the bottom left of my photo. So what I'm trying to do is create three little focal points on this page. So the first one's going to be on the bottom left of my photo. The second one, is at the top right of my photo, and the third one ends up being the title on the right hand page. Just those pops of brighter color just draw your eye around the page, and all I'm going to do to that right hand side is add that one little pink heart at the end of the rainbow because that seemed like the most appropriate place to put it. I'm going to add one more sentiment stamp to that top label, and then that is my page all done. I love creating these mini layouts in my Life Crafted album, and the digitals from Citrus Twist certainly make that a lot easier. Don't forget that you can manipulate them and use them however it is that you need to use them. Don't be restricted by the form that they come in. Thanks for watching, guys, and enjoy your Life Crafted kit this month.